Today's video, we're going to be going over everything you need to know to care for your peace lily, which is this lovely little plant right here. Though it has no flowers, we'll talk about how to fix that later on in this video. But if you'd like to subscribe, I'm always trying to come out with content to help you as a houseplant owner have happy and healthy houseplants. So first question is where to put your peace lily. Where will it do well? It does prefer bright and direct sunlight, but it will do okay in dim lit situations as well. I always like to say plants that are in really dim settings are just kind of slowly dying. It's not what they love. They're tropical, they're used to more sun by being, closer to a window, not in direct sunlight, of course, but in bright and direct sunlight is where it will be happiest, where it will have a better chance of giving you flowers over and over again. So that's where I would place it as a peace lily owner if I'm wanting this guy to really do well. Also, peace lilies do not love cold drafts, so just consider when you're placing it to keep it away from any sort of vents. And actually, this is a plant that can be placed outside in the summers if it is shaded, and as long as it does not get below 60 degrees at night, they actually can be outside. So when it comes to watering your peace lily, I'm always an advocate for feeling the soil of your houseplant before watering it. How often you water your peace lily is something that varies greatly depending on where you put it and what kind of conditions you're living in. In winter time, when there's not as much sun and your plant's not taking up as much water to keep up with all the energy it's receiving from the sun, it's not going to need as much water in the winter. Before I water, I just reach down and I fill the soil down there, and if it's dry, I go ahead and water it. If it is moist, then I go ahead and skip it. The peace lily, though, is really great at telling you when it needs water. It's well known for when it's dehydrated, it will just go limp. All these leaves will kind of just droop down, and once you water it, it will perk right back up. Oh, and one last thing, if you are noticing any brown leaf tips on your peace lily, I'm trying to find some here, maybe like this, if you guys can see that. But that could be due to erratic watering. So you kind of want to have some sort of consistency where you aren't letting your plant constantly droop down because it needs water, but just you're checking the soil enough that you know when it's getting dry and when it needs water. So peace lilies bloom naturally in the spring and summer, but if yours is not doing that anymore, it is more common for older peace lilies to stop producing blooms. So if it's an older plant, that could be the cause. Also, it regularly needs to be fertilized in order to have the nutrients to be able to flower. Good watering practices and higher light levels can help your plant flower. Make sure you're doing things like aerating the soil. By that, I mean just getting some sort of pencil or chopstick and poking it down into the soil to create more air for the roots of your plant. When it comes to maintaining the look of your peace lily, sometimes leaves can go yellow, they can go brown. You can go ahead and trim those away, throw them in the garbage. It's very normal for leaves to die on any houseplant, really. So go ahead and trim those away. What I like to do is get a microfiber cloth and dust off the leaves every now and then, because dust and maybe even grease can get on these plants, and it's best to just keep them clean, wipe them away so that they can take full advantage of any sunshine coming in, so that their stomatas can be able to breathe and have gas exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Just make sure to wipe them down maybe once a month, once every other month. Another option that you can do if you really like your plant to be shiny is to use Leaf Shine. This is a product that I used when I did interior plant design. It just really makes the leaves shine, like the name says, and it's a safe product to use. When it comes to fertilizing your peace lily, I use Schultz Plant Food. You can see the little numbers here. It says 10, 15, 10. That just refers to the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium active ingredient ratios within this fertilizer. Those are just 3 macronutrients that your indoor plant really needs. And I will do this in the spring and summertime when the plant is actively growing and putting out a lot of new leaves. I do it maybe 1 to 3 times if it's in low light. If it's in higher light and growing really well, maybe 4 to 6 times throughout the spring and the summer months. And as a note, if you use too much fertilizer, you will notice it in brown spots on your leaves. If that happens, make sure to just flush it out by putting water into the soil and just letting it drain out into the sink to just get rid of that excess fertilizer and not cause any further damage to your plant. You can propagate a peace lily. It's not something that you can take a cutting of and put into water like a lot of houseplants can, but it's something that you can divide. So, for example, about 2 years ago, I divided this peace lily. I took it out of its pot, wiped away a lot of the soil, and literally chopped it in half. I had to break just a few roots. It's a rhizomatous plant, meaning it has underground roots, and that's kind of how it spreads. So if you're wanting to make more, you can literally split it. If you want to know more about how to do that, I will include a video I made down below of when I did it with this plant a few years ago. The main pest that a peace lily is prone to is mealybug. They often sit on the underside of leaves, and to get rid of them, my go-to method is to use neem oil. I'll include links for any of the products I've shown in this video, but neem oil is just a natural way to get rid of these bugs. I spray it on and then I wipe them off and try and get them all gone. But in general, I haven't had a whole lot of pest problems with my peace lilies as long as you're keeping them cleaned up and free of dead leaves. Often these pests will not bug you. No pun intended. And that is it. That is how you care for a peace lily. If you're wanting to have more houseplant care tips and tricks, go ahead and subscribe. It not only helps my channel, but also helps my family, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching.